I'm beginning to believe that Godwyn wasn't actually Godfrey's son. I've actually thought this for a while, however, before the DLC I didn't really have a good reason. Formerly, with the knowledge that George R. R. Martin played a large part in the lore of this game, I sort of just felt like Marika, Godfrey, and Godwyn sort of gave off Cersei, Robert Baratheon, and Jaime Lannister vibes, or even substitute Jaime for Joffrey. And that's pretty much it. That was pretty much the whole reason. And again, this is not a good reason for making such a bold claim, which is why I never made it. But as I've taken the time to absorb the lore of this game far more in depth than I had previously, and especially with the release of the DLC, I feel like this is a theory that can certainly be argued. But I'd like to start this video by explaining why it has always been assumed by most that Godwyn is Godfrey's son. Because for those who don't know, Godwyn is never explicitly stated in-game to be Godfrey or Marika's son. To start with the obvious, according to finger reader Enya, quote, "The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika." The finger reader crone in the deep root depths states, quote, "O Lord Godwyn, such cruelty, such humiliation. My poor sweet lordling should have died a true death, as first of the demigods to die, as a martyr to destined death. But why must it yet bring such disgrace, a scion of the golden bough, sentenced to live in death?" The Prince of Death's cyst also refers to Godwyn as a scion of the golden bough. And he is obviously referred to as Godwyn the Golden many times throughout the game, by Ragier, Ronnie in the story trailer, the Remembrance of the Lich Dragon, and many more. So even though it's never explicitly stated that he is Godfrey's son, it's safe to say that he was, or was at least considered to be, a part of the Golden lineage. And the Golden lineage is said to be the descendants of Godfrey and Marika. Godric's Great Rune reads, "The first demigods were Elden Lord Godfrey and his offspring, the Golden lineage." So why is it that I would think that Godwyn isn't Godfrey's son? Well, in the DLC we meet the hornscent Grand Dam, and if you continue talking with her before defeating the divine beast Dancing Lion, she will say the following. "A curse upon thee, rotten miscreant. A curse upon the strumpet's progeny, upon Marika's children, each and all. The curse of the omen shall strike thee down in the form of the sacred beast's ire." So the Hornscent Grandam cursed Marika's children with the quote, "curse of the omen." And this curse is apparent in two other characters considered to be Marika and Godfrey's children, but also never explicitly stated to be so, Morgott and Mohg. Now, Morgott and Mohg being children of Marika and Godfrey is far less of a stretch. It's actually not a stretch at all, it's incredibly likely that they are. For most of you watching, this requires no explanation, but for the sake of completion, from the intro cutscene of the game, quote, "Soon, Marika's offspring, demigods all, claimed the shards of the Elden Ring," end quote. Morgott's Great Rune reads, "This Great Rune is the anchor ring that houses the base and proves two things, that the Omen King was born of the Golden lineage, and that he was indeed the Lord of Leyndell." And Mohg's Great Rune states that him and Morgott are twin brothers. And of course, this cutscene. The gentleness by which Godfrey, the Lord of the battlefield, handles the body of Morgott, the felled body of his son. Quote, "It's been a long while, Morgott." It's of little consequence given the former explanations, but hair color also has meaning in this game. Any of the children that Radagon claims the parentage of have his red hair, and it's significant because it's mentioned in various item descriptions. Quote, "Radahn inherited the furious flaming red hair of his father Radagon, and is fond of its heroic implications." And it's because of the fact that hair color matters in this game that we get to speculate about the parentage of characters like Melina and Mesmer. Mesmer with his red hair and Melina's hair somewhere between red and blonde. So anyhow, Godfrey has white hair, Morgott has white hair, Godric has white hair, and Mohg has horns, he doesn't have any hair. So it's only 3 characters, and each of these characters is old. But Godfrey's hair doesn't really look like old man white hair, it's very bright white. So is Morgott's, and so is Godric's. So it could be assumed that those of the Golden lineage have white hair. and Godwyn clearly inherited his mother's blonde hair. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The curse of the omen. Morgott and Mohg suffer the curse of the omen. Being born an omen during the time of the Golden Order is a very hard life. Omen babies have their horns excised, and most do not survive this process. The ones who do are forced into servitude, to serve as slave muscle in the armies of the lands between. Omen babies born of royalty, such as Morgott and Mohg, do not have their horns excised, but are instead forced to live underground in the sewers beneath Leyndell. The crucible knot, scale, and feather talismans all read, a vestige of the crucible of primordial life, born partially of de-evolution. It was considered a signifier of the divine in ancient times, but is now increasingly disdained as an impurity as civilization has advanced. In the age of the Erdtree during the time of the Golden Order, horns were one of these vestiges of ancient times, an undesirable trait that was disdained, and we learn very clearly throughout the DLC that during the time of the hornscent, horns were indeed viewed as something divine. They were venerated, and the more tangled and knotted the horns you had, the more divine you were assumed. So it's easy to believe that omen born during the time of the hornscent would have been venerated and considered divine, that they would have had a much better life. And that's likely true to a point, but the curse of the omen goes far beyond prejudice and persecution. The omen smirk mask reads, bears the smirking face of an elder, twisted in wicked delight. The visage is carved in the image of the evil spirits that haunt the omen in their nightmares. The omen are haunted by evil spirits in their dreams, in their nightmares. We see this near the abandoned coffin site of Grace, where we can sneak up on an omen sleeping. He's trembling pretty violently in his sleep and holding his chest. He's scared. We also see these vengeful spirits that torment the omen when we visit the subterranean shunning grounds. It's an attack they use on us. They burst forth these spirits and send them trailing towards us. We know that these are likely the same evil spirits spoken about in the omen smirk mask due to the item description of the wraith calling bell, which calls forth the same spirits. Quote, ring bell to summon prowling wraiths. Wraiths are said to be the vengeful spirits of those who died when cursed. So the curse of the omen is not only a curse pertaining to the appearance that the omen bear, it's a life of suffering, being tormented by vengeful evil spirits. And this curse likely would have led to a life of suffering regardless of what time in history they were born into. And this is why the hornscent Grand Dame lays this curse upon Marika. She wants Marika to suffer. She wants her to watch her children suffer. She views Marika as the great betrayer, and it seems personal. I believe the phrase wanton strumpet is used more than once when she speaks about Marika. And for those of you who don't know, when she calls Marika this, she's basically calling her a cruel skank. I have a number of other videos talking about Marika's beginnings and her likely relationship with this character, so watch those if you're interested. I'm not going to get into it here, but the point is, in an attempt to move on from this long omen-related tangent, it seems to me that the hornscent Grand Dame laid this curse upon Marika's children, yet only 2 of her children, ones we know of at least, suffer this curse. Many of her other children are cursed, but they don't suffer the omen curse specifically. Again, quote, a curse upon the strumpet's progeny, upon Marika's children each and all. The curse of the omen shall strike thee down in the form of the sacred beast's ire. Now I suppose Morgott and Mohg being born bearing the omen curse could just be a coincidence and have nothing to do with what the hornscent Grand Dame said. I have to at least bring this up as a possibility. However, I find this unlikely. For reasons that fall beyond the scope of this video that I talk about in other videos, I feel as if the hornscent Grand Dame and Marika did have a relationship, that she felt personally betrayed by Marika. I also feel that the devs put this in the game for a reason, that they want us to draw the conclusion that Marika's children bore the omen curse because of what the hornscent Grand Dame said. I don't think she said it for no reason. That Marika is cursed for her betrayal, for what she did to the hornscent. Yet again, only 2 of her children that we know of bore this curse. So why not the others? Especially Godwyn, who supposedly held the exact same parentage as Morgott and Mohg. Well, this I find easier to explain. It is speculative, but I feel like the DLC has shed enough light on Marika's past for this to be a more than viable theory about her children. I believe that Morgott and Mohg are the only 2 of Marika's children that we meet in-game who were born of traditional means. And what I mean by traditional means is man plus woman / god equals child. Starting with Rykard, Radahn, and Ranni, these children were born of Radagon and Rennala. Radagon is obviously Marika, but we know the 2 can appear as themselves just within the same body. We know that they have very different personalities, that they are essentially 2 people just inhabiting the same body. And the curse was specifically laid upon Marika, not Radagon. So not exactly traditional means when it comes to Marika bearing these children. We have Miquella and Malenia, who are both, quote, children of a single god, as referenced in the Remembrance of the Rock Goddess item description. They are the children of Marika and Radagon, who again, same person, so not traditional means, not by any stretch, more offshoots than children. And then we have Messmer and Melina. And I know some people don't believe that Melina is Marika's child. That's fine, we don't need to get into that here, but Messmer is referenced as a child of Marika multiple times throughout the DLC. And while we aren't told his parentage outright, he does have the red hair of Radagon. So it can be assumed that he came from Marika and Radagon. So essentially Marika alone. And Melina, who references her, quote, mother inside the Erd tree, has pink hair, blonde and red together. So as stated previously, Messmer and Melina were likely not born of traditional means either. Again, seemingly offshoots. Similar to Malenia's, quote, children, who came from her blossoming in Caelid. And then we have the beginnings of the Golden lineage, Godwyn, Morgott, and Mohg, supposedly fathered by Godfrey, 2 of which suffering the omen curse and 1 who is not, one who was sort of perfect. I speak at length about my beliefs when it comes to the origins of Marika's many children in my last video, where I essentially lay out how I believe that a number of Marika's children are just offshoots of her, or rather, various aspects she obtained when going through the jarring process by the hornscent, which can explain why many of her children embody aspects which one might find less than desirable. Messmer and his abyssal serpent, Melina and her power of the flame of the giant's forge, Malenia and her scarlet rot, so on and so forth. That is to say that when Marika went through the process of being jarred to become the hornscent saint, and later a god, that perhaps a snake was also in the jar, thus Messmer was born. A scarlet bloom was in the jar, thus Malenia was born. There was fire within the jar, thus Melina was born, the kindling maiden. Kitetails has a great video on this exact subject as well, so if you're interested, she does a much better job of explaining this theory than myself. And this theory is way more out there than what I'm proposing in this video, but it's worth mentioning because it offers an alternative parentage for Godwyn. That perhaps there was an aspect of the dragon inside the jar as well. Ancient dragons are quite perfect beings in Elden Ring lore, said to, quote, protect their lord as a wall of living rock, as Godwyn protected the city of Landel from the calamity of Gransex during the war with the ancient dragons. And as we know from the Gravelstone seal, the worship of the ancient dragons does not conflict with belief in the Erd tree. After all, the seal and lightning itself are both imbued with gold. And while Messmer was secreted away within the realm of shadow by his own mother, Godwyn was held in highest regard within the Erd tree capital. Simply put, I believe that with this evidence, particularly that of the omen curse and less of my speculative theories, that Godwyn is more likely a child of Marika alone rather than Marika and Godfrey. That perhaps even Godfrey believed Godwyn to be his own child, but that he wasn't. We learn a good deal about Godwyn's temperament when learning about his friendship with Fortisax as well. And with his lack of the omen curse, his appearance, as well as
his temperament, and the strangeness by which many of his siblings came into the world, he just doesn't feel like Godfrey's son to me. But much of this video is speculative in nature, so let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm new to making these types of videos, so again, comments are very much appreciated. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.